Welcome to the 2020 WhistleStop Winter Haven Virtual Hobnob. Welcome. My name is Katie Worthington Decker, and I am the President and CEO of the Greater Winter Haven Chamber of Commerce, and it is my privilege to be your MC for this video series. WhistleStop Winter Haven is traditionally an in-person event where members of the public can come together to shake hands and get to know the candidates that are on the ballot through one-on-one conversations. But as we all know, 2020 is a year to adapt, so we have pivoted this event to an online series of Zoom interviews. We certainly hope you take the time to listen to each of the candidates and learn a little bit more about them and what they stand for and while they're running. We have invited every candidate on the ballot in Polk County to participate, and we want to thank those candidates who did decide to do it. Full disclosure, the Winter Haven Chamber does not endorse any individual candidates, but we do believe in an informed electorate. So we hope that you find these videos useful as you are getting ready to fill out your ballot. I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors for this video series. Our presenting sponsor is Citizens Bank and Trust. Our Meet the Candidates sponsor is Spectrum. Our additional sponsors include Citrus Connection, the Hemingway Group Realtors with Crosby & Associates, John Wood Realty, and the campaign of Sam Killebrew, District 41. As I mentioned, there are two important dates for you to remember coming up in this election. On August 18th is the primary. And while there are the traditional Democrat and Republican primary races, there are also some very important local races that will be decided during that election. These include school board, county commission, supervisor of election, and the Lake Region Lakes Management District. And of course, the second date to remember is the general election that will be held nationally on November 3rd. We hope that you will find this video series useful, and please encourage your family and friends that are eligible to vote to do so. It is our greatest right as American citizens. Enjoy. So Jared, thank you so much for participating in the 2020 WhistleStop Winter Haven Virtual Hobnob. It's a long title, but we'd certainly appreciate you taking the time to sit for this interview today. And by purchasing your virtual booth, you've given us the opportunity to really communicate to the public about the candidates and the issues that are on the ballot in both August and November. And so thank you so much for that. And since the Florida Division of Elections does require you to disclose that you've purchased this as your virtual booth, I'm going to go ahead and pitch it to you to make the following statement.
Hi, this is a political advertisement paid for and approved by me, Jared West, a Democrat for Florida House District 41.
Very good. Well, great. All right, so let's hop in right into the good stuff. Let's start by learning a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Okay, sure. So I am a Floridian since 2012. I grew up in a small town in Indiana called Walkerton, Indiana. There's about 800 or so people there. I was the only openly gay male in that town. That town is infamous because when Mike Pence was the governor of Indiana, he passed a religious freedom law, and a company there called Memories Pizza decided to take it upon themselves to no longer serve the LGBT community, citing religious freedom. And so that's kind of where my my passion in politics began, as the only openly gay male in that town, being targeted by a pizza place. I moved here in 2012. I am married. I went to school in Columbia, Chicago for communications. I previously worked for Walt Disney World and Atkins Global Engineering. I also did contracting work with the United States Small Business Administration, working in a contact center, but from home. My husband's name is Matthew. He's an IBEW electrician. We have 2 dogs. Their names are Leroy and Baby Girl. And
Very important family members.
Yeah. We live in Davenport. We own our house here, and we're really excited to grow our family and be in this community. So.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And so out of all of the offices you could run for, why did you decide to run for this one?
Okay, so, you know, real change happens. Everyone is so focused all the time on president, who's running for president. But real change happens at a local level with your state senators and state legislators. That is who, actually makes a difference in your life for the most part. And so, a lot of people start small, like school board. I don't feel it would be appropriate for me to run for school board considering I currently have no children. And so, there are a lot of needs in this community that aren't being met. We have 25% of Polk County is food insecure. Because of coronavirus, our unemployment rate is currently 19.1%. People aren't getting their unemployment. For example, my husband was furloughed in early April from Walt Disney World, where he's an electrician. He just got his call to return back to work. And on that same day, last week, he finally received his unemployment benefits. All 10 weeks came at once. So, but yeah, we have some serious needs in this community. I, as a person, am a fighter. I had to fight to exist. And like back home, for example, there was a really bad drug epidemic. And so I got tired of watching my friends, my family overdose. And so I started a not-for-profit called A Voice for Them, where we fundraised and paid for people to go to rehab. And, it's just like those types of things, and not just in this community, but in all communities, are being ignored for whatever reason. And so that's why I decided to enter, because I'm tired of sitting back and watching the needs of our communities go unmet.
And so now that you've been, a resident of Florida and in Polk County for a little bit, what would you see as the needed top priorities for the 2021, legislative session if you were to be elected?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so first of all, we need to, increase funding for programs that work to end food insecurity. There are a lot of great groups out there. There's one that I volunteer with twice a week. They're called Rooted Ministries. And just the other day in Dundee, for example, we handed out over 1,800 boxes, which had 5 meals in them. So it's like over 9,000 meals. And if you go to these drive-through food bank events, you'll see, whether it's in Haines City, it's in Dundee, wherever, the line of these cars will be like a mile long waiting for the food. And so I think that is probably one of the first things we need to address, is ensuring that these programs that benefit our community, have the funding they need, because, 25% of Polk County, that's like over 170,000 people, don't know where their next meal will come from. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of the, you addressed the food insecurity and how that's been heightened by the coronavirus pandemic. What other issues do you see the legislature potentially looking at because of what we're experiencing right now?
So I would certainly hope that, I know if I'm elected, something I'm going to work to address is expanding on Medicaid, because, I think I just read that about 5.4 million Americans have lost their insurance due to unemployment or et cetera. And most of those would be covered by Medicaid if we expanded it. Florida is one of 14 states that haven't. And in addition to that, all of the Republican elected officials sent a letter to Congress asking them to repeal the ACA. So we definitely need to work on expanding Medicaid and making sure more Floridians are insured.
So as someone who would be representing the Winter Haven community, what do you perceive as our community's top priorities at the state level?
I think our community's top priorities at a state level are, making sure that our schools have enough funding, that our teachers are paid well. Again, making sure that we have a growth when it comes to, better paying jobs, making sure that we have enough housing and affordable housing. Because, for example, in Haines City, the median family income is just a little over 32,000 for an entire family. And so it all kind of ties into this, loop where people are struggling because they're either not making enough money or they're paying too much for rent, which causes them to be food insecure and all of that. So I think that these are all, like the school, affordable housing, food insecurity. I think these are all probably top priorities.
And so why should voters vote for you versus your opponent?
So I think people should vote for me because, like I said, I've been fighting my whole life. I take it upon myself and always have to do the right thing. Like the story I told about the not-for-profit. I know how to get the job done. I know what it's like to have to struggle. And I'm a fighter. I don't take no for an answer, and I actually care. So, and not to say that my opponent doesn't care, but I feel like, as someone who I guess isn't a millionaire, I can probably relate a little more to the community.
Well, Jared, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview today. And as I've told a lot of the candidates, I admire anybody that takes that leap out of their comfort zone to run for office. It is challenging in a normal year, but even more so when you can't necessarily do the normal door-to-door, knocking on doors, having rallies and gatherings and attending a lot of community events to get your name out there. So we appreciate you taking the time to do this interview and helping to show the public what you stand for and why you think it's important to be involved in civic engagement and a part of the government system. So Jared, thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and good luck.
Thank you. And don't forget, you can visit my website, jaredforflorida.com, to learn more about me.
Very good. Thank you, Jared.